अरे यार, एक मिनट. Okay. So the first question is, you are a second generation chartered accountant. So your father has also been employed in Lagos in Nigeria, where you did your schooling. So tell us more about your Africa schooling. How did it impact your career later on? So today, for example, from a cross-cultural batchmate perspective, where you are in INSEAD, which boasts of having alums from 90 plus nationalities, and I'm sure you must be
Yeah.
having around 70, 80 kind of nationalities in your batch. So how was that kind of an experience?
Yeah, I think that's a great question to start. I think life comes full circle, and it all started like my choices, my career choices of pursuing chartered accountancy started from my father, who is an exceptionally whom I always look after, look up to, and it feels as if I always wanted to be like him. Apart from that, my elder brother is a chartered accountant. My fiance is a chartered accountant. So we are a family of chartered
Family of
accountants in the
chartered
family.
accountants.
Yes, and we left for Africa at when I was very young, and I schooled there for 11 years, and it was a great place to be. It was an Indian school based out of CBSE board that I schooled in, and everyone came from different parts of the country and different parts of the world, primarily Indian though. But it was a great place and a great exposure to have at a very early age. And I think coming fast forwarding to INSEAD is just augmenting that experience. And having, as you said, 70 plus nationalities in my batch and 90 plus nationalities from the alumni. So yeah, I think life is just coming full circle now.
So how does it impact, as in a classroom discussion, having someone from Egypt and someone from Europe? How does that add to the quality of the discussion?
So primarily it opens up your mind to different ways of working across the world, especially now because everything is becoming so globalized. And I mean, to give you an example, let's say there was this, we have an organizational behavior course at INSEAD, and which is about basically how people function and work within a big, large organization. And at times when I share my point of view, there is someone from the other corner of the class who says, no, that would definitely not work in my country. And then there's a third hand in the class who says that, okay, this is how it happens in my country. And this just opens up your mind, because till now so far I have had stints abroad, but never in such a very diverse group. And so it just basically opens up your mind to such a diverse set of perspectives.
Yeah, so a Japanese perspective will be very different from an Indian and an American.
Correct. Yes.
So in terms of your articleship, so you worked in the technology, media and telecom practice of EY during your articleship. So how come in articleship you got such a specific role?
So the Big Four, I'm not sure about how the other Big Fours are organized, but in Ernst & Young, there are three verticals under statutory audit. It's technology, communications, and entertainment. Now it's known as technology, media, and telecom. There's financial services and there's manufacturing. And these are the primarily three main verticals. And when I was joining EY, I was very fascinated and very passionate about the technology space. And in my 2 years of internship there, I got exposed to a wide variety of technology, tech companies, e-commerce. And so that just opens up your mind to this sector. That's how the internal structures of the Big Four is organized as well.
All right. So then in the third year, you opted for, I think, Nomura as a analyst for their credit derivatives for Japan. Now there is this pertinent question that one, how was this experience? Second, like a lot of wannabe rank holders, they kind of want to refrain from opting for industrial training in the third year because it has a kind of an impression that it will not help you get a rank, you'll get swamped with work. So what has been your experience on that front?
I think for me, industrial training has been an excellent option that the ICAI has opened up in general. It gives students an early exposure into the industry because primarily they've been doing articleship in mid-size or large firms. And just how things work in an industry before you actually qualify as a chartered accountant, and gives you a flavor of whether this is right for you or not. Now, coming to the question that yes, a lot of people who study CA refrain from doing industrial training because of the exams. I acknowledge it is a very intensive exam, and it requires a lot of hard work. But the added advantage of industrial training is that a lot of the courses which you study during CA becomes easy. For example, in my case, because I was doing the credit derivatives in Nomura, studying the finance courses and studying the derivatives chapter, which a lot of students do not like, became very easy for me.
Ah,
And
yeah.
second, it you also, I think you can plan in advance. So when you start your industrial training, you know that okay, you're not going to get as many leaves as the other students are. And so you can plan in advance, start studying for 2 days, 2 hours, you know, in a week, begin, and then maybe, you know, gradually ramp it up, so that you don't have to start studying just as you start getting leaves. A lot of your portion can be done during that year, because industrial training can give you that option. And your bosses and your principals who are training you, they also know this course because they are also chartered accountants, and so they acknowledge this as well.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah.
Now, in one of your articles, after you had scored a rank in CA final that I read
Yes.
online, so you recommended that students should at least sleep for 8 hours. So that was
Yes.
an article on CA Club India. So it's heartening
Yes.
to know that, you know, because toppers kind of claim that they hardly slept. So in my time also, I had secured a rank, and I used to tell people that, you know, I will not compromise on sleep. And people said, no, no, toppers just sleep for 2 hours, 4 hours. I mean, that is massive myth in the market. So what's been your take
Correct.
on that?
Correct. I think sleep is a very important component of the exam preparation, because it helps you retain what you study. And I have always been a day study person, but I'm not an advocate. So basically you decide on your schedule what works best for you. But at the same time, I believe that at least 8 hours of sleep is very important, because you are studying an immense amount of work, you know, an immense amount of material during a certain session. And so if your brain has to function at its peak capacity during the day, sleep becomes very, very important. Otherwise, it becomes a short-term performance, but you're not able to sustainably carry it on. And there'll be a day when you'll not be able to function.
Yeah, but even the night before the exams, like direct tax, you slept 8 hours?
Yes, because after a point, you know what you know and you know what you don't know. There's not much that you can study in the night before the exams. I
Yeah.
would just say that my strategy was to solve a series of mock tests built in a similar schedule like the exams on a similar timing. And so I studied for these mock tests, I think 1 month before the exams actually started, in the same way. And I knew, okay, I'm taking how much time in studying for what chapters in my pre-preparations.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
and this was my strategy to actually tackle that 1.5 day that you get before every paper. The course load is intense, and so I had condensed all my notes into how do you say, a 30 to 40 pager material that I can easily go through instead of going through all the questions in the manual. Um, and that's how I was able to do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good strategy. But even things like direct tax, indirect tax, you would be condensing that into 30, 40 pages?
Yes. So I did not go through the entire notes. I just went through some of the key important questions that I had marked out, and my notes for every subject, even for direct and indirect tax. Yeah,
All right.
it was a common strategy across all subjects.
In that article, another interesting aspect in your
Okay.
recommendations was your
Yes.
focus on meditation and deep breaths. Tell us more.
So, as I said, sleep and mindfulness is very important while you study for the chartered accountancy exam. You should be in complete control of the subject. It is a very intensive subject. It takes a lot out of a person, and so I wouldn't say that okay, everyone needs to do meditation. For some people, it really works. For some people, it doesn't. But find your way. My advice would be to find a way that actually that you can connect your body to the outside world. Maybe take a walk or do yoga. In my case, it was just deep breathing. But do these kind of things that can actually connect you outside to the nature, and you're not just sitting inside a room and studying for 16 hours a day, because it's very important. along with sleep, these kind of things also help a lot in boosting your productivity.
You do that during now INSEAD as well? You are able to manage time for that?
Yes. Yes. So at INSEAD, it's not deep breathing, but I usually run. We have a forest behind our campus.
Oh.
And so so we have a forest behind the campus, and I usually run after classes on most of the days. That's my way of releasing the stress out.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are a ranker in CA final and you entered this prestigious finance leadership program of the Aditya Birla Group, which is exclusively for rank holders. So take us through this rigorous selection process, because a lot of people want to get there, but they have no real clue. And then in your sense, what is it about your candidature that got them excited, your good case interview, your big four vintage, etc.? What really worked in your favor?
Okay, so the first part of the question is about the Aditya Birla Leadership Program, the recruitment experience. It is definitely a tough one because you're recruiting amongst some of the best talented chartered accountants in the country who have graduated, and they are all very sharp minds and great at what they've done so far. Also very brilliant in the exams. So I remember my time, we were about 80 or to 90 rankers that had come and appeared for the Aditya Birla leadership programs. As soon as you get a rank, in my days, I got a letter from Aditya Birla Finance Leadership saying that this is the outline of the program, and these are the dates when we'll be holding interviews, and please confirm back on whether you can come or not. And I remember they sent a chocolate along as well, congratulating me for the rank. So which was a very nice gesture. Coming to the interview day, it's a series of 4 to 5 rounds, and starting with a group session. It's a group discussion. So basically, you're given a case, and then you have to talk it out amongst the group. The evaluators are mostly looking at how you are in a group setting. From then on, it becomes a series of HR and technical interviews testing you on your knowledge. And you asked a question on what did they see in me? It's very hard to pinpoint on a certain thing.
In your sense,
I don't know what they saw in me, but perhaps it can be. It probably is a mixture of the Big Four experience, the industrial training, and just doing well on the interview day.
These case studies are based around their real life problems, like how do you optimize cost in a cement plant, something like that.
I don't remember the exact case. It's a 2-pager case. It's a real business case. It's not just a case. Yeah, it's a real business case. But I think it's more condensed so that it can finish off in 45 minutes, because otherwise it would just go on for hours. So the problems are made much more condensed so that they can stimulate group discussions easily. Yes.
All right. So then, I was just going through your profile. So you have learned Brazilian and Portuguese on the job. So how was it as an experience? Easy, difficult? And was that really crucial for your assignment to Sao Paulo in Brazil?
Yes.
What exactly did you do there?
Sure. So this was during the first year at Aditya Birla Leadership Program. And what had happened is they were looking for a finance leadership associate to go to Brazil. And it was 2 months before the actual assignment was starting. And the group was very kind enough to offer a Brazilian Portuguese tutor to me. And so what I used to do is I used to work on my stint during the day. And then when I went back in the night on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I had the tutor come to my house and teach me Portuguese, which I had to pick up within 2 months. Obviously, I did not know the entire language within 2 months. It's very hard. But once I went there, I kept working on the language and made a few friends continuously. So that was the way. I really enjoy learning new languages, and it was very crucial on the job, because a lot of people in Brazil, if you need to get things done, you need to know the language, at least the basics. A lot of my work was around helping multinationals, Indian multinationals, in the ease of doing business in Brazil and in Latin America. And so the project required a lot of networking as well as desktop research. And a lot of the resources were available in Portuguese. And so it was very crucial for me to know Portuguese. Yes.
And the language, the familiarity with someone's language also helps you bring familiarity with them very easily. People kind of open up if you address them in their. That's an important learning, that if you are eyeing an international career, it's good to have a couple of languages up your sleeve. Like,
yes, not a prerequisite, but yes, I if you're doing an international stint and they don't speak English there, I would definitely advise anyone to go and learn the language. And just as a side note, I learned the language not through the tutor, but also through listening to Brazilian music and watching Brazilian movies. So you get a good sense of their culture overall, and you're able to appreciate that. So it doesn't become a big cultural shock for you once you land there.
yeah, fair. So then after, I think during the first year, they keep you rotating through different stints for 3 months each. And then you were put in the health insurance business. Is it? So there you were on a double fast track mode. You were the youngest chief manager in that business. So tell us more, how did that journey span out for you?
So the health insurance opportunity came to me when I was in my last stint. And at that point, the job description was just one paragraph. It was a startup. We had not yet launched. And they were looking for someone to work in their finance team. And I was very excited because fortunately, it was about creating a company from scratch. And the business model was very exciting. It was around incentivizing health insurance through an embedded wellness component. And I really believed in the business. I believed in the product that we were creating as a company. And I think those were somewhat like the best days of my career while we were working to create the business. And my role was to create the business plans and work on the strategy of the organization. So really, really good time. One of the best moments was when we launched our product to the market. And just seeing our first customers buy the product and try the product was very, very exciting.
So your role wasn't just that of a bookkeeper or someone who would make budgets and do the annual business plans, but someone who actually was in the thick of things when it came to the business implementation. Was it like that?
Yeah. So initially, I think it was a two member or a 3-member finance team. So we were doing my boss and me, and then another management trainee who joined soon. We were doing almost everything in finance. It's accounting, taxation, investments, and also the business planning and the distribution strategy, rollout strategy. Sooner and like within 4 months to 6 months, the finance team became bigger and bigger. And from a 2 or 3-member finance team, I remember in 3 years, it became a 40-member finance team. So yeah, so the company grew really fast. We scaled very fast. And the roles became also much more defined. I was part of the financial planning and analysis team. And my role was actually to evaluate any initiative that we take as a company from the financial point of view, also look at strategic partnerships with our distributors from the financial feasibility standpoint. Yes.
Amazing work. Yeah, good.
Yes.
And then so many awards, a leadership associate award, best employee kind of an award. So what has been your secret sauce, Vivek? I mean, normally people pay awards. How is this happening? What's your secret recipe for this?
There's no secret recipe. I mean, I'm just very humbled to having received those awards. I guess it's just if I have to think of it, it's just passion that you bring to the table, and just being excited to go to work every day and thinking about, okay, what is going to happen and what am I going to do, and also collaborating with different teams across the company and making sure that the work gets done, and following the right set of values and principles. Everything taken into account. Yes, really humbled to get those 2 awards. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
So then, a very pertinent question which comes: You're doing very well in your Aditya Birla Health Insurance, the youngest chief manager, got a series of awards. Life was good. I think the pay in the finance leadership program is also quite good for Bombay standards. Then suddenly, this stint of international MBA in INSEAD, because the first thing which a typical Marwadi like me will think is $1 lakh plus kind of an
Yeah.
expense. So
Yes.
people at home will say, "Padta aega kya?" In that true sense, ki, will you have that ROI in
Hmm.
that? And then if you try to explain them the long term thing, people don't
Yeah.
understand. So,
Yeah.
take us through that journey of the transition from corporate doing well again to being a student in an expensive, although
Yeah.
it's a coveted program, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is a very expensive program, but at the same time, it's very hard to evaluate the ROI of such an MBA program because I believe you've also done an MBA, Anurag, and I
Yeah.
am, right? And so you understand this. It's very hard to evaluate the short-term benefits of an MBA because it gives you much more than just a job post MBA. You get a network to a talented set of people. You get access to such a diverse set of companies, and you just get to learn a lot more when you're here. So it's very hard to just put a number figure to it, saying that okay, this is my ROI from the tuition fee that I have paid. um, for me, when I was considering doing the INSEAD MBA, my biggest criteria for decision was to talk to senior alums and talk to people who have actually done this program and whether they recommend doing it. And when I reached out to alums, first of all, what was so surprising and so nice to see was I received responses from all of them within 2 days. And that's when I realized, okay, the alumni network is so strong. And second, then each one had good things to say about the program and recommended it from an overall perspective. And that's when I decided, okay, I will go and try this. Each one gets a different benefit out of the MBA program. No two people get the same benefit. It's a very, you choose your own electives, you choose your own experiences, you make your own friends. But at the end of the day, everyone finds their own value. Yes.
Yeah. So having a view of which is okay, this is your pre-MBA salary, this is your post-MBA salary. That's a very myopic way to
Agreed.
judge the efficacy of this 1 year program, right?
Yes, yes, I completely agree. I think it's very hard to just put a financial number by salary. I think there's a lot more happening other than salary that you should that one must take into account while looking at an MBA. Also, one must not also one thing that I must say is that one must not just look at rankings while applying for MBA. You should really look at what is your best fit and then apply to those MBA programs which you feel are perhaps the right geography to be in post MBA or the right careers to be in what that school specializes for. Yes.
So that brings me to the next question. Like, GMAT 740 and then your INSEAD application. Where else did you apply? And what I hear also is that apart from self study for the GMAT, you could take some coaching. These
Yeah.
INSEAD applications, people use a lot of professionals to write down their SOPs and their typical 6 essays that INSEAD. So did you also use professionals to help you get mentored and do this thing the right way?
Yes. Yes. So I first talk about the consultant. So I think in India now it's become a huge industry, the admission consulting industry. There are primarily two kinds of consultants that I saw out there. One who actually just help you in editing and guiding you through the entire process because for me, I did not know how the process works. And second, those who actually write your essays. Now, I would not recommend the latter ones, those who write your essays. I think your essays have to come out from your own personal self, what you relate to. And so I would not recommend doing that. But the first case where someone can actually guide you through the process and tells you what works and looks at your application and gives you a more high level view on whether the essay is going in the right direction, I think that's a great place to be. um, the consultant that I worked with also helped me connect to some senior alums who had done their MBA from Europe, and they knew what MBA schools in Europe look for, and were able to help me and guide me because those elements were present in my profile. It's just that one should know that these are the elements that we should talk about or we should display while talking or while preparing the application. Coming to GMAT, your question was around coaching and self-study. Yes, I think coaching is fine. Coaching really helps. It gives you a flavor of what the course is all about. But at the end of the day, self-study is very important. And doing those mock exams of GMAT helps you get a good score. And I did this while working, and one does not need to take a leave for doing these exams. It's more about logic thinking and quantitative logic. And so my suggestion is, yes, maybe if you feel like do coaching around it, but at the same time practice during the week, practice during your commute from work to home, or find ways to practice with a friend. And it's not impossible to get a good score on the GMAT. Yeah.
And how important is the GMAT score in the application process? Is it a hygiene factor or a determinant like the CAT percentile from the year? So, for example, in the Indian program of IIM Ahmedabad, the PGPX, GMAT is not a deal breaker. So, it's a good to have thing to have a 750, 760. So, how's it in Europe admissions?
So, I do not know the admissions, how they look at it, but from my sense, and this is my own personal sense, I think it would weigh around maybe 15% or to 10 to 15% in your overall application. It's very, I think it's comparatively low compared to the Indian MBA schools. But this is again my personal gut feeling. I think if you have a good score anywhere between 700 to 740 or 750 plus, it gives you a good foot in the door and a very good entry into the interview process of an MBA school. But then it all comes down to your profile, your essays, and the interviews, and also your references from work. All of those taken into together are considered by the admission officers, and they look at it very holistically.
And you're also interviewed by alums of INSEAD, na? That is also part of the process.
Yes, I think that's a masterstroke, because while you're interviewing with the alums, after the interview, you can always have a casual chat with them and understand about their INSEAD experience at the end. And it really helps to understand, okay, the school is right for me or not. And for me, yes, when I spoke to the alums, both were very friendly and welcoming. And I really had a good time talking to them.
All right, fantastic. Yes. Now take us through your stint at MBA. I mean, you are what, 11 months into the program now?
10th. This is the 10th month.
10th month. Yes. So what has been your typical day, taking that backpack and walking into a classroom after being part of a business launch team at Aditya Birla? How's been that experience? What have you learned? What have been the transformations?
Yeah, it's tough to become a student after you've worked in a business environment, and going back, and now again when I have to go back to work again, it's gonna be a very difficult transition for the first 1 or 2 weeks. But for me, when I entered the classroom and I was exposed to such a diverse set, again, the diverse set of talented people, and just knowing the experiences that people have come from all parts of the world. Someone has worked in a cybersecurity startup in Israel, while someone has worked in agricultural tech. Someone has come from the army, and it's just amazing to work with such diverse set of people, and get a sense of how they work. And INSEAD does this very good job of putting you into groups, and a lot of work that you do is in such diverse groups. And so it's a very good learning to understand the group dynamics and work in such groups and get work done and get your assignments done.
The pedagogy is completely case study based there as well?
It's a mixture. So it's not completely case study based. Some classes are also simulation based. Some classes are guest speakers where you have to prepare beforehand. I wouldn't say it's completely case study based. Again, it depends on the class that you take completely. There was one class that I took. It was about entrepreneurship in action. And that was a complete simulation where you're running a company with a group, and you take a role of a CXO. And after every round, you come back and you debrief on what the company could have done better and how you are compared to the competitors. So a very different way of learning, and it was an intensive course that lasted over a weekend. Really enjoyed it.
What have been the other exciting, the guest speaker lectures and in terms of the electives, things you thought that, oh my God, this is what I have learned. It would have taken me 10 years otherwise, or maybe I would not have learned in the usual course of things. Electives, guest lectures.
Yes. I think the list can go on for this. There have been a lot of aha moments for me at INSEAD. For example, in my very recent class that I've just concluded today, we got to create an artificial intelligence chatbot, which was basically a working prototype for a fintech model. Then 2 weeks back, we had Indra Nui, who's now retired from PepsiCo. She came on campus to give a talk, and she spoke about how there is this growing importance of women in the workplace, and how she, as a woman leader, one of the pioneers, in fact, was able to manage her personal life and work. And just knowing about that, gives you a sense of perspective on how difficult it is for a woman, and especially an Indian woman, in the workplace. And then I mean, there have been lots. When I did an Abu Dhabi exchange, campus exchange in Abu Dhabi, and over there we got to meet a lot of companies and a lot of startups on the work that they're doing, and just a lot of exciting stuff that you're exposed to. It's very hard to pinpoint on a single experience, but I think every day is a very exciting day to be here. Kind of sad that it's all finishing up. But yes, also looking forward to get back.
When are you graduating?
We graduate in 2 weeks. It's on 5th of July.
Oh, it's very close now.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when we discuss the aha moments, were there also moments which tested your tenacity of purpose, your low moments? Like, one is that when you go to campus, these kind of campuses, you get overwhelmed by the kind of achievers that surround you. We all are little achievers in our own world, and then when we are swarmed by so many, did you have those kind of experiences? What were your typical low moments also? I'm sure there could have been some.
Yes, for sure. I think everyone, this is a very overwhelming experience, especially when you're put into a group of, as I mentioned before, 70 plus nationalities. There are times when you have conflicts within groups, and it's all about how you manage those conflicts. Some days are very stressful when you just want to go back home and take the night off. But again, I would say that those are very short-term low moments. It's not like something that has lasted over a period of time. Again, I cannot speak for the entire class at INSEAD, because everyone has had a very, very different experience. If I was to do it again, I would have a very different experience. But in the overall sense, I think those low moments, whatever have come, especially when you work with other people, there can be some set of conflicts, have not lasted beyond a day or two. And so it doesn't, like, it's not something that keeps me up at night. Yes.
Okay, so what about this Robin Hood Club? I'm quite excited to. Yeah. What is exactly this Robin Hood Club there?
Yeah, in fact, I also didn't know while I was applying to INSEAD. It's I think it's one of the most interesting clubs that I've seen here. Robin Hood is basically a scholarship that students, it's by the students for the students. And so what we do is we do a lot of activities on campus to bring students together, a lot of fun activities, in fact. And the proceeds that we raise from this is matched by the school, and it's given to a student in need towards his tuition fee. And the entire, I think, for the students, it's a very good way to actually have fun on campus, have these fun activities on campus. I'll give you an example. I was part of, being a marathon runner, I organized a small 5K run in the forest in the month of November. And yeah, we had 70 plus INSEADers running in the forest in the 5K. And it was a really fun event to organize and, take part in. And I also hadn't heard about this club before, but for me, I've got some really great friends from that club now.
Oh, absolutely. And the kind of
Yeah.
things. So we've spoken a lot about the Vivek who has been achieving on the corporate front, in the academic front in NCR. What does Vivek do for fun?
Ah, uh, I I do like to hang out with my friends over dinners and just have a nice discussion. Um, Also go out and try new restaurants. But I think my biggest way of having fun is to work out and go for a run. I am a big believer in health and fitness, and I do a lot of running in the forest, and the weather is really nice right now. So during these months in France, and so I just take the time out and go for a run, and have a lot of runner friends at INSEAD, and so we just do it together as well. Apart from that, I read a lot of books and non-fiction books, and that's my way of just again releasing the stress that builds up during INSEAD. Yeah.
Super. The final question, which I always ask people: what is your advice to people who are watching this show, youngsters? What would be your sense in terms of the specific actionables that one could do to do well in the career front?
Okay. Very tough to give one single piece of advice, but I think I can give advice to two sets of people. For those who are pursuing their CA, and those who are currently thinking about CA, I think just be open to all options that are there available. Consider industrial training, as I spoke about, and also study hard and study smart for the CA exams. Read the articles, sleep for 8 hours, and just enjoy the experience of doing the chartered accountancy course. I would say it's a wonderful course, and if you really like what you're studying, you will really enjoy it, and clearing the exams will be easier. Coming to people who are now considering INSEAD for their MBA, or considering doing an MBA abroad, I would say understand why you want to do an MBA and what are the reasons that actually are driving this decision. And once you have the why ready, then start looking at the business schools that are available, and then go back and introspect within your profile uh, whether this is the right time for you or not, because this is as you said, this is a big investment decision. And sometimes I feel especially people in India, they go on to the MBA program too early, and then they feel that okay, they are not fitting in because of the lack of experience compared to their peers. And I feel, understand when your profile is the at its peak and at its right time to do the MBA. Don't be in this rat race to finish fastest and first. Just consider, okay, where you are at personally, understand that space, work on your profile, work hard on your application, and yeah, go out there and achieve your dreams. So nothing is impossible, I feel, and it's just hard work and smart work.
Super. Amazing. I think this has been a good interview for us.
Thank you.
I really, now I'm imagining myself in those forests, also running up and running with that group.
Yeah.
The Robin
Yeah.
Hood Club. I mean, the entire journey so far, Touchwood, has been really wonderful. I really wish you the very best, Vivek, for your future endeavors. And in case there are youngsters who want to be in touch with you, I would recommend that they connect with you on LinkedIn. I'll leave the link of
Yes,
your profile in the description. And that's how
definitely.
it is. Thank you so much for sparing out time out of your busy schedule, just 2 weeks away from convocation. And wish you the very best for your convocation. Thank you.
Thanks, Anurag. Thank you.
All right.
Very humbled
Bye.
again to be here. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.